Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart Alan Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the third week of April 2020. And even though it was the third week of April, we had a lot of snow this week and a lot of cold.
I think about 4 inches yesterday.
No, it was more than that.
Was it 5?
And every day we had snow.
We had snow flurries, and we had another day
showers.
where we had 2 or 3 inches. So
Yeah, added up. There was quite a bit of snow altogether. And I tried to go outside today thinking it would be nice, and I actually wore sandals, but there was ice and snow.
I would have worn sandals.
I really wanted...
I still have my snow boots on.
Well, I wanted it to be spring, and it just wasn't.
Well, that's silly.
Well, you know, as I say in Michigan, we have 2 seasons, winter and winter light. So we're now getting into winter light.
Well, so that was silly to wear sandals.
I was hopeful. I was trying to
That's
be
not what I would say,
positive.
but
I was
it's
trying to be positive, but I got ice and snow in my shoes, my sandals anyway. Anyway, a comment to make before I begin. Apparently, there's been a few of you, probably not too many, but a few of you who have complained that the podcast images are too bright and hurts your eyes to see it. Well, that's because the light of God shines through us and illuminates our entire being. And if it hurts your eyes, it's because you're probably possessed by demonic entities. And so the light will purge them out of you. So that's a good thing. Okay. Speaking of demonic entities, many in Michigan have accused Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who I lovingly call Wretched Nick Whitmer, of abusing her power after she implemented a ban on boating, selling non-essential items, and visits to other residences during the coronavirus pandemic.
Oh, and one of the non-essential items I will have to comment is, you have a list?
I have
I was going to say
some.
flag.
Oh,
the American flag.
Yeah, she doesn't want the American
We're
flag.
not allowed to buy the American flag in Michigan.
No, because she works for George Soros and Kissinger, and she doesn't want us to be American. So, and we are actually the People's Republic of Michigan. She's very close to China and those people. Anyway, the Democratic governor implemented an expanded executive order banning the sale of non-essential goods, including clothing. We don't need this. We should
But she wants people to be naked.
We should be naked in the snow. And that's another thing. She said, you know, we should just get over the lockdown because it's snowing anyway and you can't go outside.
In Michigan, we go outside. If we didn't go
If
outside
we were
in
in
the
Michigan,
snow,
we would never go out.
Exactly.
Because it snows
we all
most
go.
of the time.
That's right. We are always out in the snow.
Yes. Yes.
As
And
you
so,
just attested to this morning in your sandals.
yes, that wasn't too smart on my part. Anyway, so the banning of sale, including clothing, gardening seeds. Okay, it's been snowing, but this is the time of year that you're supposed to plant things.
But sometimes people they have their internal greenhouses
Yes.
and they start it inside, so they need their seeds so they can
Right.
start their seedlings.
And car seats. I mean,
Infant car seats.
what happens if your car seat breaks? I mean, I'm sure you have one.
We have a baby.
And then you need another one.
We have a baby.
Then you can't put the kid in a car seat.
She did say that was a mistake. I saw that.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
Oh, she actually admitted to a mistake?
Well, I saw the signs in front of the Walmarts and things, but so then I guess, then she had to say it was a mistake.
No, but here it gets better. Because she also outlawed visits to other residences so that you can't even go.
To your neighbor.
No, or to visit your old person friend or whatever. Including visits to vacation home or a neighbor's house because of the virus. But if you are a visitor from out of state,
Yes.
you can go to your vacation home. It's only if you are a Michigan resident, you can't go to your vacation home, which might be next door to an out-of-state person's vacation home.
Right.
So that makes total sense, doesn't it? Many believe these actions to be an abuse of power. A little bit. Yeah, like a little bit like Hitler.
Well, she said that even fueling your car because of the handle at the pump that you touch, you could be passing it that way. So my thought was, well, next thing she's going to do is say you can't go anywhere because you might have to put fuel in.
Well, so maybe she'll make deliveries of food to everybody's houses.
Maybe. I thought that was really interesting.
And the funny thing is, she's closed, salons and gymnasiums and all these things. But her hair's always done, her nails are always done. She looks like someone puts her makeup on. Seems like she's not living up to her own rules. Well, you wouldn't want to see Wretched without makeup, would you? Anyway, many believe these actions abuse of power. Independent Michigan Representative Justin Amish condemned Whitmer's actions on Twitter, saying, "I have a constitutional duty to ensure states don't trample on the rights of people. Governor Whitmer's latest order goes too far and will erode confidence in her leadership. There is no more. She should immediately reassess it." No, she should immediately leave.
Resign.
She should leave.
She should resign.
"Several recent measures provide marginal benefits at best, while substantially heightening frustration and resentment," he continued. "Sensible instructions to practice social distancing, wear masks, stay at home already do most of the work to reduce the virus spread. By pushing too far, the governor undermines her own authority and increases the likelihood people will not follow reasonable guidelines." And as we saw this past week, 100,000 people came to the Capitol, even in the snow, and they told her what they thought.
Because people aren't going to stay home in the snow.
And as of Sunday, there's been a petition to have Whitmer recalled from office with more. Well, at that Sunday, it's 122,000, but now it's over 200 and
Yeah,
probably
I
close
saw
to
that.
500,000.
Probably.
So she needs to go, little Soros puppet. Now, the online petition calling for her removal has gathered, as of last week, over 200,000 signatures. The petition started approximately a month ago in response to her tyrannical stay-at-home orders. "Recall Governor Whitmer. Her failures during the COVID-19 coronavirus is causing more Michiganders to get sick," the petition reads. "Closing and banning various non-essential businesses and activities while leaving others open, promoting the pandemic." And by the way, our roads are very, very bad because, of course, having only winter and winter light, the freezes and cracks, and it's not good, and they need to be repaired every so-called spring. Spring that we do have. But she doesn't. So the petition calls out Whitmer for her inability to fix roads, an important issue to Michigan, and the problems she campaigned on them. Whitmer has lied since day one with her fix the damn roads, which she didn't do.
She said that in her campaign.
Yeah, but she didn't.
No.
Which has failed to do anything in this regard. The response was negligence, and completely removing funding clearly shows her lack of anything positive for the state of Michigan, the petition reads.
It's been highly likely that
She's the most unloved person
but
in
that
the world.
is most likely her job is to spread this kind of
Well, let me
confusion
go
and-
on. According to the Detroit Free Press, Michigan residents can no longer purchase paint, gardening seeds, or travel to their lake houses. However, they are free to purchase lottery tickets. Whitmer has suggested draconian strategies for reducing the spread of the COVID-19 by blocking off sections of grocery stores so people can only buy purchased essentials.
Okay, well, let me go back because when you talked about they can buy lottery tickets, which of course sold by the state, they can go to the liquor stores; those are all open.
Yeah,
Pot
they
stores
could buy
are open.
pot, they could buy lottery, they could buy alcohol, they could buy all the things that really will help them,
Right.
but not
You can't get
seeds
it,
or
an American
car
flag,
seats
or
or
an American
flags.
flag.
Right,
Can't
right.
even buy that.
So they said your latest order is far too restrictive and includes provisions that seem arbitrary and internally inconsistent. And we believe there is a better approach. The group suggests Whitmer abide by the guidelines put out by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention instead of creating her own arbitrary guidelines. So she is as dumb as a stump.
No, I don't.
Blank stare. Yes, I've heard from people who know her.
She's just following
selfish
orders.
and self-centered, and she thinks that Biden was going to pick her as a vice president, which is why she did this, so she'd make a splash for herself. But you know what, Nit Whitmer? The splash became a tidal wave that's running over you, and you're gonna drown.
Well, she wanted to look like she was against Trump, so therefore that would make her more
Well,
democratic.
now everyone is against you. And so, bye Gretchen, bye. Wretched Gretchen. And don't ever come back. Anyway, there's a new company that's gonna help create a COVID treatment. And do you know what their name is? Benevolent AI. Gee, let's think. We know the AI signal is what helped cause the virus, and now benevolent AI is going to help eliminate
And
it
then somebody else pointed
with
out.
$292 million to create drugs faster.
And remember, somebody pointed out that AI numerically is
1919.
1919.
And they've already approved the drug as a potential treatment. That's very fascinating. And it's an AI platform. And guess who is ahead of it? Baroness Joanna Shields, who is the CEO of Benevolent AI. The Baroness. Do you think she has any connection to the mucky mucks in George Soros area?
Don't know.
And she says, in response to the COVID-19 global health emergency, we turn to our AI drug discovery and development platform towards understanding the body's response to this novel infectious disease. In other words, we put poisons and a chip in it because it will help promote the disease.
Well, that's benevolent.
Yeah, so Benevolent AI team fed into their platform everything they knew about COVID-19. I bet they knew a lot about it. That could inhibit cellular processes.
That sounds interesting.
The cellular tracking is an amazingly complicated thing to process. I am sure it must be.
No, for AI, nah.
These were then fed into the knowledge graph. What is that? And took roughly half an hour to process because they already knew what they were going to do. And the result was that they identified baricitinib as a potential drug with both antiviral and anti-cytokine properties. Well, especially since the virus is acting as a pathogen, what's the word I'm looking for in English? Malaria is a what? Parasite. It's a parasite. It's not a virus. So that's why they knew it was acting like a parasite.
But it's amazing that they could do this in 30 minutes and everybody
Because they already knew.
Everybody else
It's
has
called
been working on it
Benevolent
for,
AI. Hello.
because everybody else has been
Hello.
working on it for weeks and months.
Now, Israel. In Israel, 6 critically ill corona patients were considered high risk for mortality, but were treated with Pluristem's placenta-based cell therapy product and survived. The patients were treated at 3 different Israeli medical centers for a week, and they were suffering from acute respiratory failure and inflammatory complications associated with COVID-19. 4 of the patients also demonstrated failure of other organ systems, including cardiovascular and kidney failure. Not only have all the patients survived, according to Pluristem, but 4 of them showed improvement in respiratory parameters, and 3 of them are in the advanced stages of weaning from ventilators, which kill you anyway. They say, we are pleased with this initial outcome of the compassionate use program and committed to harnessing PLX cells for the benefit of patients and healthcare systems. And this part I like the best. The Pluristem CEO and president is named Yaki Yane. That could have been your name, Yaki. Yaki Janet. Yaki Swerdlow. No? Okay, on with my news. The result could be the reversal of dangerous overactivation of the immune system, and this would likely reduce fatal symptoms of pneumonia and pneumonitis. Did you ever hear of pneumonitis?
I think so.
And the effects animal studies show that pulmonary hypertension, lung fibrosis, acute kidney injury, and gastrointestinal injury all could be cured for that. It's basically an anti-inflammatory, obviously. And the company is already in discussion with regulators in the United States and Europe to define the clinical strategy for the COVID-19. But we already know that hydroxychloroquine already works when used with zinc, and especially methylene blue.
Yeah, now I want to remind people that we have the methylene blue here. We have the plus, we have the blue block that you
I
can
spray this over
on.
me every day.
I spray it on you every day while you're sleeping. And this is the regular one. And now we do have a lot of information on our website, expansions.com. We have this brochure. Our supplier has done tremendous amount of research. You did an interview with him.
Yes.
And so all that's on
Is
our
that on our
website.
site?
It's all on our website, expansions.com. And right now we still have plenty in stock. So you can place your order. Been sending it all over the world.
All over and getting large orders. We might need to hire a ship to ship it to other places.
Well, for one person, one bottle should be plenty. But a lot of people are getting it for their families and friends as well. So.
Now, the Chinese government has posted a directive by 2 Chinese universities ordering that the studies relating to the origin of the coronavirus be strictly and tightly managed. The directive was pulled from the public web after it was spotted, and a Republican representative, Jim Banks of Indiana, said the Chinese government directive violates the 2005 international health regulation. Why would the Chinese violate any regulations?
Don't know.
That makes no sense to me.
That's silly.
No. Academic studies from Chinese researchers on the origins of the coronavirus pandemic are subject to strict vetting from the Chinese central government, and basically the Chinese government is hiding its evil deeds. Now, speaking of evil deeds, let's go to England. I don't know how those people tie their shoelaces, seriously. The Labour's most senior elected official spread a conspiracy theory that Boris Johnson did not have coronavirus. Actually, I spread that, because I said that a long time ago.
I think he's reading our
I
site.
think
They
he,
all
I
read
think
our
he is.
site. Everybody
Apparently, a lot
does.
of my stuff is winding up on Twitter and Flitter and Twitter
Everything.
and all that stuff. Now, Andy Fox, the woman who shared A-N-D-I, because I is feminine.
Depends. Everything is spelled every which way now.
Yes, Andy Fox, who chairs Labour's powerful ruling body, retweeted a claim the Prime Minister had not been suffering from COVID-19 and that doctors had been forced to hush up his true condition. You think that happened with Charles too?
Okay, hard to tell.
After an inquiry, Miss Fox locked her account, meaning it can only be read by followers.
Oh, did you know the Queen can't have a public birthday
Excuse
celebration
me,
this
you
year?
better spray my shoulder, you just touched me.
You want me to spray you with this?
Seriously, I don't know where you've been.
Did you hear me?
Yucky, huh?
Did you hear me?
What?
That the Queen cannot have her birthday celebration this year because of all of this.
You know, why are you trying to upset me while I'm doing this podcast?
I'm sorry. I had to break it to you. I figured now you'd have less of a
I
breakdown.
had such a good, nice present for her too.
Yeah.
Anyway, the chair of Labour's National Executive Committee shared a claim that those who had treated Mr. Johnson in a London hospital had been forced to sign the Official Secrets Act, and that 2 doctors had refused and had been sent home. They probably just want to go home. Ms. Fox retweeted a post that read, quote, Dorset I don't know what that means, are reporting that when the Prime Minister was admitted to the hospital, actually they say to hospital, they're not using that in Britain, all staff were required to sign the Official Secrets Act. 2 doctors who disagreed with his diagnosis refused and were sent home on leave. One of the doctors said, quote, if he has COVID-19, I am not a doctor. He probably said it with a British accent though.
You said it with a southern accent.
I did?
I think so.
Well, it was Southern England. I think he was threatened by the deep state and he was protected by covering it up, just like Prince Charles was probably threatened. And miraculously, in 2 days, he got better. Now, this was very fascinating information. This was sent to me by somebody, and I looked it up, and there it was. In Montana, you know Montana.
I love Montana.
Valley County, you won't like it after this.
No?
Valley County is mandating that people wear government-issued pink armbands, where have we heard that before, in order to purchase products inside of stores. The measure, enforced by the Valley County Health Department, insists that store owners keep customers out unless they have a pink armband which denotes the customer has been in the area more than 14 days and submitted to quarantine protocol. According to the flyer produced by the Valley County Health Department, out-of-towners, that would be people like us, who lack the government-issued armbands will be prohibited from stores, and residents are notified to call law enforcement if they don't. So in other words, rat on everybody that doesn't have an armband. Gee, where have we seen that before?
I have to tell you before you go on with that, because here in Michigan, there's one county alone. I read this little article that the 911 is getting like 40 to 50 calls per day, returning their neighbors in. Isn't that terrible?
The sheriff here said, "Do not call us for that."
Yeah, but this
And
was another
people who are that,
county.
these people need to be smacked in
It
the
was
head.
another county though.
Yeah, and of course it says here, if you don't cooperate, you'll be forced to call law enforcement. So these are Nazi tactics that are completely out of line. And as of April 30th, Michigan, Wisconsin, and South Dakota should be free.
I thought South Dakota wasn't on any law.
Yes, but they're free. And next week, Texas will be free. I feel like singing Kumbaya. How about you? You want to sing Kumbaya?
I do not.
Okay. But now we have an update from this Valley County in Montana. And it says, this was issued on April 15th. The Valley County Commissioners would like to apologize and issue clarification regarding the current health orders and obligations that apply to visitors from outside Valley County. I think Valley County must be all alien people, and they want to identify the humans that
I think that they need to rip up those pink armbands.
In response to significant public concern regarding out-of-county contractors who are present in our communities for essential work purposes, one of the companies partnered with the county health officer to wear pink wristbands
Oh, that's silly.
following their 14-day quarantine.
That's silly.
This was implemented to help alleviate community concerns about potential spread of the COVID-19. These bans are not government issued and are not part of any of the current health orders in place. Rather, they are a good faith effort by these contractors to try to put the community at ease.
And so people will voluntarily put on these little pink armbands. I would rip mine to
They
shreds.
just need to issue beer and red wine to these people and calm the
These
F
people
down.
need to rip up these armbands. This is terrible.
In a breakdown of our internal processes, a flyer went out to local business owners seemingly indicating such wristbands are required for out-of-county individuals and that local business owners were obligated to report violations to the health orders. This is not the intent of Valley County, and that flyer has been rescinded. We apologize again for any confusion. It's not confusion, you did this.
Well, not only that, but they're still making their residents wear the armband. So that is Nazism. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the whole
Nazism-
point. That's the whole point. Are you done?
No,
Yaki?
I'm not. That's not nice. If you say that
Hey,
again,
that's a name.
It's not my name. It's
Well,
not nice.
I think it's a nice one. Go with Yana.
It's not nice.
Oh, you're so funny.
Wait till you hear the comments on that one.
Oh boy, I'm sure. Well, maybe they'll just turn the light up and they'll be too bright for them to see or hear me.
Yeah, well, it's going to go down if you keep
Now, this
making
should be
those
of
comments.
concern to you at the moment. A region of Iceland is erupting for the first time in 800 years, raising concern of disruption in air travel for centuries to come.
I'm going to have to take a boat.
No, because then there'll be violent tsunami waves.
No.
Reykjanes Peninsula, southwest of island's capital Reykjavik, has experienced more than 8,000 earthquakes. About 10 centimeters of land have risen up due to magma intrusions underground. Meanwhile, that's not bad enough. Meanwhile, Indonesia's Krakatoa virus reported last week erupted over the weekend and sent ash 10 miles into the sky, and Klushevskaya Sopka, the highest peak in the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, erupted with volcanic ash plume 4 miles high, and at Shiveluch on the Kamchatka Peninsula, smoke plume reached 7 miles. There's also activity in nearby Aso and Sakurajima in Japan's Kyushu region. And back to Indonesia, along with Krakatoa volcano, activity was reported at Ibu, Merapi, and Semeru on the island of Sumatra. And in Mexico, my favorite volcano, what's the name? Popocatépetl. Can you say it?
I'm not going to say, but yes, I can say.
But you're still mad at me because I called
Yes.
you Yaki. So can we un-Yaki that?
I don't know.
I think we have to, otherwise I have no place to go where there's social distancing that will accept me. Because I have a very
Should have
wide,
thought of
I
that.
have a very wide aura.
You should have thought of that.
Well, anyway, Popocatépetl plume rose 19,000 feet in the air. In South America, Sangue and Reventador in Ecuador, and Sabancaya in Peru, and Nevados de Chillán in Chile have erupted. And then central in Guatemala, Santiaguito has been active. A lot of volcanoes have been active. And guess where else you're going? Stromboli in Italy
I'm not going to the south.
was churning out mild to sometimes strong explosions at a rate of 15 per hour, accompanied by lava flow. And in Erebus, Mount Erebus in Antarctica, there is an active lava lake which is doing something. And Erta Ale in Ethiopia recently created a new fissure with lava flows. And Yellowstone Caldera volcano, which is underneath the huge national park, has reported elevated seismic activity in recent days. And again, in Sumatra, Kerinci volcano released ash into the sky, triggering several advisories. Now, what's going on? The Earth is rebelling, and will create volcanic winter and ice age if this continues. And the underground explosions in the bases are a completely separate issue. Now, going from ground to sky, several people or several residents of the Phoenix Valley reported seeing multiple lights over the sky and reported it on Facebook and tweeted it. Several claims that they saw multiple lights moving across the sky from the southwest to the northeast, and as many as 10 to 20. And as we know, there has been the same thing been reported over Michigan and Ohio. And I don't know why I don't have the link here, but the space station, the ISS space station, hundreds and hundreds of UFOs passed the space station, was recorded on video. Do we have the link on the, did I send you that link?
I don't know.
Well, if it is, look it up. You'll see the lights. They were heading towards the Earth, and as also being reported this week, 2 large asteroids are heading towards the Earth. They will not hit, but I don't think they're asteroids. I think they are some of our space people.
Well, I have seen during the month of April report after report after report of these clusters of lights in the sky. So some people are saying that it's Elon Musk's satellite
I
thing.
don't
Some
think
people
that's
are
it.
saying it's ISIS. Some
Well,
people or the.
You want to hear a story?
Yeah.
I'll tell you another story, and we have to go to Dopey, England for that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a mysterious burning trail seen spiraling through the sky last Wednesday night prompted speculation what it could be. According to witnesses, it looked like a very thick chemtrail to start with and a short skinny cloud. It wasn't moving quickly at all. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a meteorite because they're all gone in seconds. We have seen hundreds of shooting stars, but this definitely wasn't that. It was coming down very slowly and spiraling. So it was going like this, coming down, and it started to glow orange, as you can see in the pictures, and there were flames coming out of the back of it. What would you think it would be?
I think something got shot down.
Something was crashing. And this was reported in the West Midlands, and it was just below the cloud level. It was below cloud level, and it was bright orange. It was if there was a car in the sky with its lights on full beam. The light didn't move. It stayed in the same place for a minute or so, and then we realized it wasn't a flight path. Then it got dimmer, and suddenly the light disappeared. I then saw what seemed to be a faded gray outline of an aircraft. Suddenly it was completely gone from the vision, and it actually looked like it crashed. However, Dr. Robert Massey, Deputy Executive Director of the Royal Astronomical Society, said there was a scientific explanation for this. He told Mail Online, I think the intense bright light that people are seeing is the planet Venus in the
I
sky.
don't think so.
Because it's dramatically bright, just like our podcast. Maybe we are planet Venus. Venus is so particularly bright at the moment that you can see it during the day, and at dusk it becomes does Venus spiral around and try to go towards the
It turns
ground?
orange.
Yeah, it looked like an aircraft on fire. I think so too. And this will continue till the end of May. However, other people said the burning object moving through the sky looks a lot like an aircraft contrail to me. The British UFO Research Association agreed and said the burning object was probably an aircraft contrail. So one says it's Venus, another says it's an aircraft contrail. Meanwhile, it was spiraling to the ground in flames. So if you look at the link and you look at the video, it does not look like a plane to me. It looks more like a vehicle hit by a weapon and crashing to the earth. Now, I have some things for them to keep in mind. Shall I keep that after yours or do it now?
I don't know where it belongs.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
I don't know what you're gonna say, so I can't tell you.
So you never know what I'm going to say.
That's true.
And
So
it
do you want me to go
always
ahead with mine?
makes you angry.
And then
at
you
me.
can,
Yeah, you do your thing, and then I'll
You can
I'll
add
sit
in.
here and socially distance.
all right. So, few things because, and we're telling you, and most of the news obviously is about this COVID-19. So I've got a few things that you're probably aware of, but I want to give you, kind of pull some more things together for you. So first of all, I'm sure you know by now that Surgeon General Jerome Adams said that the coronavirus task force dumped the Bill Gates CDC WHO predictive contagion model and that they're now working
Which was
with
fake.
the real data.
Yeah.
Now he explained that given the new data, businesses will begin to reopen as early as May and others in June.
I hope earlier than that.
And then he also said that this runs contrary to the out-and-out fear-mongering of Dr. Fauci
Yeah.
and Bill Gates, who made a media tour threatening the public that businesses may not reopen for 6 months to a year
That's bullshit.
or until and unless governments purchase their conveniently patented big pharma vaccinations.
That's the whole point.
Now, what's interesting is that if you keep going back in time, did you know Dr. Fauci is on some of the boards of Bill Gates' organizations?
And given medals by Obama.
Yes, and also been pictured, I think we told them this before, with Bill Gates' father, and the Planned Parenthood was an outgrowth of the Eugenics Society.
And remember, Bill Gates' father said that he wanted most humans to die.
Yes, now I didn't realize Planned Parenthood was an outgrowth of the Eugenics Society.
Yeah.
You knew that? Yeah, I did not know that. And also, the Surgeon
It's
General
from the
said,
Nazis, actually.
that I believe, these were used as the basis for what many experts have termed a grossly disproportionate response.
You think?
Models predicting the deaths of millions and hundreds of thousands in America appear to be overblown,
Right.
as the real-time data is showing the death count much lower.
Well, yes, a lot
This is
lower.
why we keep telling you not to be afraid.
But even besides the lower death
Yes.
count, even that's overblown.
Yes.
Because they put in COVID-19
Yes.
on everyone's death, even if they died from,
Which
a hemorrhage.
Right, we reported on that last week. And now, speaking of Microsoft, I found this very interesting, and I'm sure you probably have seen or heard about it as well. That they're, I don't know what they call it, an ad, I guess, featuring the Serbian performer, what's her name? Marina Abramovic. Their latest project, a mixed reality installation which incorporated Microsoft's HoloLens virtual reality platform, touched a nerve before it was removed this last week. The video received over 25,000 thumbs down on YouTube before it was pulled. Now this is Marina Abramovic, who supposedly is like the most famous performer in the entire world. And
She
she's
is?
famous for her spirit cooking
Oh.
and pseudo-cannibalism. Now this is Microsoft, and this is the guy who's supposedly leading the war on the pandemic, who is partnering openly with a satanic individual like this.
Didn't we also realize that he named Microsoft after his private parts?
I read that somewhere. Now this ad, which they did take down, it said was relatively clean of her usual blood and sacrifice tropes, but its overtones of art as luxury good and conspicuous consumption, which was going to be auctioned off at Christie's later in the year, came off as equally outrageous at a time when everyone around the world is facing economic depressions and millions have found themselves out of work due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Which is really not a pandemic.
Now, this was, again, I hear about a lot of these things, and some of it I pay attention to, some of it I don't, but she apparently came into the public eye as a result of WikiLeaks' 26 release of emails that were pilfered from John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's then campaign director. The emails appeared to open a window onto what the rich and famous do behind closed doors that was either tantalizing or repulsive.
Mostly repulsive.
Yes, and so apparently, because of this, then the internet people out there dug up endless footage of this woman's carving cake shaped like human bodies, writing
Or maybe
on
they were
walls
really
with blood,
bodies.
and if possible, and posing with various satanic looking objects. And in this particular, on my link, there's actually about a 5-minute clip of her, and this was from the Podesta emails, my understanding is, and they're taking children amongst these most horrific
Real life children?
real life children, like say we took our children like on a picnic,
Mm-hmm.
and they're naked, not the children,
What?
no, children aren't, but the performers are naked, but they're painted, and there's scenes of child sacrifice and humans being hung and
And they're
chained
doing
to
this in
trees.
front of the children.
And they took the children through these. It's bad enough for adults, but the children, and this is what she was a part of and hosted.
Why isn't she in jail?
Now, apparently, because this was secret stuff from what they got from Podesta via Hillary Clinton's emails.
Oh, Hillary's a lover.
So she says, Abramovich, she said it was actually just a normal menu, because when she was talking about spirit cooking, it was just a normal menu, which I call spirit cooking. There was no blood, no anything else. We just call things funny names, that's all. Apparently, she didn't discuss the human-shaped cake or the simulated child sacrifice, or feel the need to talk about how her previous spirit cooking performances and art galleries were heavy on blood, including recipes involving semen and breast milk, and light on food. However, this is who Bill Gates teamed up with.
Figures.
And remember, he wanted digital certificates, 18-month lockdowns,
I think he should be locked down.
despite lacking a medical degree or any expertise in any field beyond money. And we don't even know what that, because it came from his father. And so now these are the famous hashtags. Bill Gates is not your friend, and hashtag Bill Gates public enemy #1, which I happen to agree with at this
And
point.
I just, if I can just say something, I showed you that video that online this week of he and his man wife.
Oh, yes, we talked about that.
Telling how horrible it was that
Yes.
Trump cut the funds to the
Yes.
and his wife is like here, and he's like
Yes.
this little boy next to her. I never realized that.
Well, not only that,
He's little.
I would wonder if maybe he is a sheep.
That's what I'm thinking. And then they showed him next to his father, and
Yes,
he's here. And his father's like,
His
"Ooh."
father's 6'7", and Bill's like this, and a little
So how
tiny
could that be?
guy. And the woman that's his wife, Melinda, with big square jaws, she looks...
Mel, maybe it's Mel.
Maybe or Michael, another Michael. She looks very masculine.
Yeah, and,
And
she's
he did not
she's
look...
not pretty.
No, neither one of them are attractive couples. So who knows, which would mean those kids are not really there. So
No, just like the Obama's not their children.
who knows what's going on. It's like I said, this stuff to me is scary. They took it down, but this particular article said the ad may have been pulled, but the mission was accomplished. So they want certain things to be seen. They want this disruption in the world. They want people
Yes, they
fearful.
do.
They want you
Right.
confused. So in the middle of all of this, Donald Trump tweeted about the lockdown rebellion. He tweeted, "Liberate Michigan, Virginia,
Yay.
and Minnesota."
We need to be liberated.
All 3 of these states have Democratic governors who are facing protests from residents who believe the coronavirus stay-at-home orders have gone too far.
They have.
They have. Trump declined to side with the protesters, but he did say they like me and respect this opinion. Now, Andrew Napolitano says Michigan, New Jersey governors are violating the law.
Yes.
And these are impeachable offenses.
Yes, I know for a fact.
And then there's, in Michigan, a bill was introduced to limit the governor's emergency lockdown powers, because apparently we have 2 laws, one in which has no limit on how long the governor can keep it on.
I was assured this morning by someone in our government that Michigan will not go past April 30th.
And now here's interesting things, because all this news that you're hearing out there about how horrible everything is, in all of this, Beaumont Wayne Hospital in Detroit closed temporarily,
Because they don't have patience.
leaving employees looking for answers.
Right.
And you want to remember that our state just finished turning convention centers and canceled conventions in June and into July, I believe, into field hospitals.
For nobody.
And they did the same thing in Seattle, and then they closed those, they pulled it out.
Big show.
So now here we have it. It says they just finished turning convention centers into field hospitals, and some, including the now laid off workers, are asking why close a perfectly good hospital.
Exactly, because there's nobody to go in it.
It happened quick and without any warning at the Wayne location, according to a union president representing 300 healthcare workers.
And that's in an area that's supposed to be a hot spot.
Yes, the workers have been heroes during the pandemic, coming to work every day, and now they're jobless. The president said of the union said it not only is sad, but it violates a contract that says they have to be given 14 days notice of work changes. He said it's not even been 24 hours and 95% of the workforce is gone. Now listen to this. Now I happen to belong to a group on the Facebook called Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine. So these are real people that are posting. There's I think about 300,000, maybe close to 400,000 members.
Probably more than that.
This person said, my brother is an RN at Spectrum Health Butterworth in Grand Rapids working with COVID patients. They don't have enough work. They only have 7 patients.
That's a pandemic.
Yeah, they've been waiting for the surge to happen, and it's not. He mentioned they're getting 10 to 20 patients a week from Detroit and having much success. They get better in 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, because
Not
they
2
don't
to 3
have
weeks,
they
2
don't
to 3
have a
days.
virus, people.
Then he said Lakeview Spectrum Health in Big Rapids is sending all COVID patients to Grand Rapids because they aren't getting many, and McLaren and Traverse City only has 6 COVID patients.
I think our hospital here is like dead.
Now, I don't know about here, I haven't heard. Here's another one which I think is very important.
Yeah, that's a
This is also, listen, this is what Governor Whitmer did to our state. This is from a medical provider who owns 2 family practice urgent care centers in Michigan. Apparently, Trump offered emergency federal funding to the state of Michigan. And for 2 weeks, Whitmer declined the offer. So therefore, this man was not able to apply for federal assistance for his businesses. So apparently it was the Detroit Free Press that exposed that she refused this money. So then she had no choice but declare that she filed a declaration of emergency so she could gain access to the funds 2 weeks after it was offered by the federal government. So this man finally put in his application, and the loan officer said, why didn't you put your application in 2 weeks ago? Because now you have 300,000 applicants in front of you, and when the money is gone, it's gone. So apparently Whitmer denied Michigan businesses access to emergency funding, and he says, this man, you single-handedly bankrupted thousands of Michigan businesses. And then he said, as a medical office, they were told they could not see non-emergency visits in our office, but they could do telemed visits over the phone. So he said that was great, but on the same day she said that, she cut the telemed visit reimbursement by 50%, which again robbed all healthcare facilities of revenue by 50%.
She's an evil Soros witch.
And finally, well, she's a good one because she's doing
she's a good witch of the East.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's doing what he wants. So now the last thing he tells us is he wrote a prescription for hydroxychloroquine last week for a patient. Then he got an immediate call from the state telling him that he was now going to be monitored by the state for writing the prescription, and he felt extremely threatened, which I can certainly understand.
So you get punished for healing people and curing them.
And in Wisconsin, the stay-at-home order was extended until May 26th.
That's not going to go.
By Governor Tony Evers.
There will be revolution there.
Pennsylvania's state senate voted to override the governor's stay-at-home order.
Pennsylvania doesn't do too many good things, but that's a good one.
That's a good one. Now, Virginia apparently is on lockdown until June 10th.
They have an evil, evil governor.
Now, I'm going to tell you something else that happened, because this is what we always tell you about this. Oops,
He also took all the guns away from people.
Okay, here we go. So what are they doing? They're having you look at the COVID-19, but what are they doing? So on Good Friday, the dear governor of Virginia, Northam, I can't find his first name offhand. Let me see. Oh, here we are, Ralph Northam. Guess what he did? He signed an extreme abortion bill under the guise of repealing anti-women's health laws. He signed a bill stripping nearly all regulations on abortion in the state and repeals medically unnecessary restrictions on women's health care. Now, this legislation rescinds the state's required 24-hour waiting period, ultrasound, and counseling prior to having an abortion. They must need to have the fetuses for the spirit cooking that this woman's doing.
They sell the fetal parts.
I know, and the live ones too. Now listen to this. This legislation will also allow non-physicians to perform abortions.
Like anybody could just do it.
Non-physicians, and they loosen building safety standards in abortion clinics that are required of other outpatient facilities. So he must be getting a kickback on these dead babies.
He's going to get a kick, all right.
Now, Americans United for Life CEO and President Catherine Glenn Foster called the legislation horribly destructive and says it will undermine the role of law to protect and guide.
It undermines God.
It undermines everything. She says that the bill eliminates reflection periods for women seeking abortions while denying vulnerable women the full truth on what abortion means, what abortion is, and what abortion does. And apparently this woman had an abortion when she was 19, I don't know how old she is now. She was denied the option to see the ultrasound of her baby, even though she asked, because once you see that it's a real human.
Then you don't want to do it.
Right, now this, believe it or not, this guy, the governor, is a pediatric neurologist and a democrat. I'm going to call that.
He is a demon, all right.
And apparently there was a bill introduced by another Democrat delegate, Kathy Tron, in 2019. This bill, I don't think it passed, but it would allow abortion when a woman is in the middle of full-term labor, which means
What?
Yes, this bill.
That's murder.
Yes, and so that this is what this governor said.
He should be executed.
He supported this bill. It didn't pass, but he supported the bill, and he said, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and family desire. This is in the middle of
resuscitated?
because they're in the middle of abortion while she's in labor.
That's not. I'm sorry. That is not an abortion. That is murder.
Yes, and he's a pediatric neurologist. I hope no woman ever goes to this man.
Who the hell voted for him?
I don't know. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother what to do with this baby.
You know, I don't promote violence, but Virginia, you need to get the frick rid of him.
And Foster said that he should have been removed from office last
Yeah,
year
like-
after he clearly
Right.
stated and directly that when
Him and Gretchen.
that when a child is born alive during an attempted abortion, she should be denied basic care and compassion and left alone to die. This is the governor of Virginia who said these things.
He is an evil murderer.
So how these people can stay in office?
He should be convicted of murder and
Yes.
executed.
Well, the bill didn't pass, but he and the other Democrat, Kathy Tron, were both pushing to have this bill. So this is
What
what
kind of a woman would do that?
a Democrat.
Not a human being.
No. And in Canada, one of your
Yeah.
favorite countries,
Yeah.
the federal government is considering introducing legislation to make it an offense to knowingly spread misinformation that could harm people. This is the idea of British MP Damien Collins' call for laws to punish those responsible for spreading dangerous misinformation online about the COVID-19 pandemic. Opposition leader Andrew Scheer criticized the idea, thank goodness someone's criticizing it, the idea of using legislation to curb misinformation. This government has a terrible history over the past few years of proposing ideas that would infringe upon free speech. That is your friend Justin Trudeau. Now, you want to hear something else that
He's in trouble.
Canada is doing that's absolutely ludicrous? Tim Caulfield, a University of Alberta researcher, who's also the Canada Research Chair in Health, Law and Policy, received an almost $400,000 grant to study misinformation about COVID-19. We should get $200,000. We can tell you about
I'll
misinformation.
do it for $100,000. All you gotta do is listen to Fauci. There's the misinformation
There you
right
go.
there. Give me the money.
Yeah, we'll split it.
I just did it for them.
Yeah, and so almost $400,000.
Listen to the Who. I get a double payment.
So listen to this. This is Canada, because in recent days, chiropractors were wrapped for suggesting their services could help stave off the virus, which chiropractic here in Michigan was also considered non-essential, which I think it helps a lot of people.
Of course it does.
Because it gets your structure and
It's
alignment.
very essential.
It's extremely essential. And then, remember I just told you that happened to this guy here in Michigan? Alberta's physicians and pharmacists were, they called it, dressed down for prescribing unproven medications to colleagues, family members, and themselves. So why do the pharmacists and physicians want unproven things? Because they know something the public's not being told.
Right. A lot.
Now, listen to this as well. They issued a warning to Canadians last week about the risk of buying health products, including drugs, natural health products,
Yeah, things
like
that will help
methylene
you. Things that will help you. They don't want you to
right,
have.
homeopathic products, and medical devices that make false or misleading claims.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, the Health Canada has issued letters to multiple companies directing them to immediately remove false claims from their websites and advertising materials. It includes even medical masks, disinfectants, plant-based elixirs, hand sanitizers, chaga mushroom blends,
I
ultraviolet
take chaga
lamps,
every day.
and oregano oil.
And oregano oil is good for you.
And
They want
the
that
only thing,
removed.
yeah, the only thing they talk about, which I don't promote, is colloidal silver. I don't believe you
That I
should
don't
take-
agree
you
is a
should not
good thing.
take-
That's not a good thing.
And even on your skin, remember, your skin is your largest eliminated organ, and you can pull it in. So,
Yeah, it kills things, including you.
so then now apparently there are blogs out there, and again, you have to. You're not children, think.
Well, some of them are.
Some blogs encourage people to drink bleach, which I would not
Well,
do.
that is stupid.
Okay, or they say false claims touting the efficacy of old malaria drugs, which is what Trump is talking about, which is what they're trying to.
Yeah, because Fauci and CDC and it's not tested. It's only been around for 65 years and has no side effects.
And then they talk about this is all under things that you shouldn't, this grant. It says, with all the noise out there, the worry is people won't go to trusted voices in the medical profession. Okay.
There aren't any.
Well, they just said physicians and pharmacists are prescribing things to colleagues, family members, and themselves. So on one hand, they're saying, okay, who are the trusted voices? Bill Gates, this spirit cooking person. So who is it? Who are the trusting? That's the people who promote the party line.
Listen to President Trump.
So anyway, and then on top of that, Dr. Dina Hinshaw said there's an increase in prescriptions being filled for antibiotics, antiviral, and anti-malarial drugs touted as potential treatment for COVID-19. And she says these behaviors must stop. So, really? And then now,
She must stop.
you also mentioned about the ventilators.
That will kill you.
And this little article was talking about how ventilators are actually death traps. And what was interesting about here is they do talk about it being standard treatment for pneumonia, but they usually only keep people on for 2 or 3 days, not for weeks and weeks and weeks.
No, if you are on that, then you're not going
Now
to be
in
too
New
good.
York, 80%. Remember, the standard media saying we don't have enough ventilators. What's Trump doing about this? In New York, 80% of ventilated patients failed to recover.
Because the
80%.
ventilator takes away your ability to breathe.
Dr.
on your
David
own.
Farsi, the president of the American Academy of Emergency Medicine, says his patients have been treated successfully with what he calls fast flow oxygen delivered through a simple nasal tube or mask, which is what we've said all along.
Yeah,
If
they've
you need
been
to
doing that for
breathe,
100
just
years.
put it over here and breathe in some oxygen, you're done. The other thing he does, he says, he places his patients, you should do this at home, okay, if you have a problem, although I can't exactly.
What is it?
Okay, you place your patient on your left or right side. It's a process called proning, which I've never heard it called that, which instantly raises oxygen levels in their blood. Okay, and so he says that some doctors say this virus's symptoms are more akin to high altitude breathing difficulties, which means you lack oxygen at extreme heights, or even carbon monoxide poisoning, which destroys the oxygen in the body's red blood cells, so the victims are struggling for oxygen. So they don't have the ravaged lungs of pneumonia sufferers that put people on ventilators. They're suffering from oxygen failure, not respiratory failure. And remember, medium green, we talk about all those things that you can do in our books here. Medium green, flush your lungs with medium green, that will help you breathe as well. So read these books as well. Another professor, Sheriff Sultan, who's based out of Ireland and is the president of the International Society of Vascular Surgery, believes that invasive ventilation is not a solution for COVID-19 because it does not resemble pneumonia or similar respiratory ailments.
Right, it's a
And
parasite.
he says we need to stop treating patients for the wrong disease. And oxygen, parasites cannot live in a highly oxygenated environment, which is, again, medium green color, which we tell you all that all
I'm
the
pretty
time.
sure that a hyperbaric chamber will help as well.
Yeah, but you can't get that without a prescription.
Well,
And there
we're in the
are,
hospital.
they won't give that to you. And the other thing is there are dangers to hyperbaric chamber treatment. So there's a lot of things, but like I said, medium green, lay on one of your sides. You need to be oxygenated. If they want to put a ventilator on you, tell them you want the nasal mask. You just want to breathe some oxygen and to help yourself if you have any issues. Then here we go. These are my last couple ones, and to me the most common sense ones of everything. The first is from Professor Peter Collinian from the Australian National University Medical School says you are safer outside than inside.
Well, that's true.
He says these are panic decisions, not decisions based on data. Social restrictions on people sitting on a park bench, walking on a beach don't make biological sense, according to him, and he's an infectious disease expert.
And plus, they have shown that sunlight will kill the virus.
Yes, and not only that, do you remember, a long time ago, the cure was to go to the sea, and you would breathe in the sea salt air, and you would get the sunshine, and everything. This is what cures you, not the things that we have seen on the internet, whether they're true or not, I don't know, but they're chasing people down. They showed a guy who was surfing in the middle of the ocean, and they put in two jet ski boats.
There wasn't even anyone around,
No.
and plus you're allowed to exercise
But
outside.
he's surfing in the middle of the ocean. So the DNR people, wherever they were, they took their jet skis out.
What state was that in?
I don't remember, but they took their
it
jet
was
skis out
California.
and they arrested him and brought him in. And then there was 3 of them, so there was no more social distancing because they
Yeah,
were all
so
holding on.
if any, they could have infected him,
Yeah.
not the ocean. These
So-
stupid people.
This professor said extreme measures were unwarranted and risk rebellion. He says we have to do everything we can to minimize the spread to others, but do not do things that don't even make biological sense.
None of it makes sense.
And this last one I thought is the best article. I keep reading you. I'm finding really great articles. These people are refuting what this storyline is. It's trying to scare you.
Right.
This is an epidemiologist. His name is Dr. Knut Witkowski.
Oh yes, I
Did
like
you see
him.
that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
He said the virus could be exterminated within weeks if people were allowed to lead normal lives and the vulnerable were sheltered until the virus passes, which is common sense.
And he said to keep the schools open
Yes.
to create herd immunity,
Yes.
and by keeping schools closed, you're not helping.
Right.
You're making it worse.
And he says he's actually the former head of the Department of Biostatistics, Epidemiology, and Research Design at the Rockefeller University in New York City. So in Canada, they're saying, listen to the medical professionals. These are the medical professionals you need to be listening to.
Because he's telling the truth.
He says what happens if you flatten the curve, you also prolong it and you widen
Right,
it,
because
and
you're not
it
making
takes
it go
longer.
down, you're just making it go sideways.
Right. He says, I don't see a good reason for a respiratory disease to stay in the population longer than necessary.
Right, exactly.
He said now this is very interesting. He said about 80% of the people need to have had contact with the virus. Listen to this. The majority of them won't even have recognized they were
Because
infected.
it won't affect
They
you.
have a very mild symptoms, and he says especially if it's children. So if we don't immunize the children and keep them, then you know what? They can bring this thing back when our children are grown, and they will not be able to fight this off.
The only thing he did recommend that elderly people to isolate
Yes.
because their immune systems are not so
But
strong.
we do that anyway. If you have an older person in your household, grandma, grandpa, nurse, and you're sick, you don't feel well, you don't go visit them. You stay away from the
That's
vulnerable.
just common sense.
Common sense, which we have always done.
You don't need a mask
No.
or gloves
You just stay
or
away from
hazmat
people.
suit.
He says after a couple of weeks, he says it's gone. He says even through social distancing, which it grates on my nerve,
I
that
know,
term.
it's ridiculous.
The epidemiologist said the virus finds its way to spread, albeit more slowly. You cannot stop the spread of a respiratory disease within a family. You cannot stop it from spreading with neighbors, with people who are delivering, who are physicians, anybody. And listen, you'll love this one. They asked his opinion of Dr. Anthony Fauci, the key medical expert on the White
Yeah,
House Corona
yeah,
Task
uh-huh,
Force.
let me
This
hear.
guy should be the key
So
expert.
let me hear.
Okay, they asked his opinion. He said, quote, well, I'm not paid by the government, so I'm entitled to actually do science.
Yeah.
Unquote. Brilliant. Get this guy on the White House Task Force,
I hope
on the
they
White
do.
Horse,
I hope
too.
they do.
And then he says, why is this virus being handled differently than the others, such as the swine flu in 2009? One factor, he said, is the growth of the internet, which spreads news quickly, whether true or false, fueling panic. These stories are circulating the world and contributing to chaos and to people being afraid of things they should not be afraid
Exactly.
of. So excellent.
And now I can read mine.
You read your stuff.
I'm calling this things to keep in mind.
Okay.
Now, before I read it, YouTube and other social sites are removing anyone who's telling the truth about this issue, and especially people who talk about Q. They are instantly removed. So if that were to happen to us, which is a possibility because we have been attacked recently.
We're talking
So you can always go to our website, expansions.com, and watch our videos on there.
Okay, I will tell you, they are on Vimeo. So we have made sure that all of our YouTube videos, all our podcasts are on Vimeo. Our website, expansions.com, you get your membership there, less than $1 a day, and we also do Q&A besides all our videos.
Especially Q.
Especially Q&A. So please get your membership.
And so let me just read a few things here to you. Media, personalities and governments that claim lockdown will continue for months unless a vaccine is administered are deep state puppets. The vaccine already exists and it contains poisons and a chip. Do not take it. You're better off to die from something than take that.
Don't wear a pink armband.
No, don't wear any armband.
Rip it off.
The deep state is desperate. They will stop at nothing to create problems for President Trump and for Q. Do not trust mainstream media. Do not pay attention to Democratic governors or any Democratic person in political position unless they renounce their Democratic leaders. Gates, Soros, Kissinger, the Pope, WHO, the UN, the Obamas, the Clintons, CNN, Yahoo News, the EU leaders, US Congress, and most of the Hollywood entertainers, Justin Trudeau, and the Chinese officials do not tell the truth. They do not care about you. They seek to control you and to hurt you. They will all pay for what they have done and what they are doing. Do not fear. Trust the plan. Be vigilant and be patient. The best is yet to come. God wins. Where we go one, we go all.
Yeah, that's very well said. So remember, I told you about our medical books. We also have some excellent information. This is our new series that came out, Heights of Spirituality. Hold that, please. Then we have the King Bee, Queen Bee. We have the Template of God Mind. And we have Revelations, Time and Space, History and God. So we have, as I've told you before, decades of experience that we share with you in our books, on our websites, on our podcasts. We don't do Q&A on YouTube and Facebook. Please quit sending in things, and please quit sending in your videos to us because we have our own sources.
I'd be watching them for days and weeks.
It's terrible. No videos, please. Go and read if you want to hear about methylene blue, what it can and cannot do for you. Make up your own mind. We don't tell you anything. We just put it out there, and you do what you need to do. Vitamin C, it was interesting. I've told you this before. On Vitacost.com, which is where I buy mine, $15, very cheap. For powder, can last you a long time, not available anymore. And this is why we tell you, take care of your mind. All healing begins in the mind first. These are just boosts to the mind pattern. Do your mental work.
Yes.
And when this is over, which it will be
soon.
Then keep doing your mental work. Don't stop. Don't just, maybe this is the impetus that gets you going, but keep doing your mental work. Our Hyperspace Plus, Healing Archetypes and Symbols. We have so much information out there for you that will help you. And together, if each one of us works on ourselves, then together, this is the healing of humanity. It's not going to come from outside. It has to come from within each one of you.
Yes, and so that is all for now. We will see you next week and see you later.